Hello and welcome to another Tech Campus Coffee Live webinar. This is an opportunity for you to learn about career paths at Tech directly from professionals in your field.
We'll be speaking to technical representatives from a variety of fields at Tech, and they'll share why they enjoy what they do.
Participants also have a chance to directly ask speakers and recruiters questions and get a good understanding of why Tech is a great place to work, as well as where your strengths, talents, and learning opportunities lie. We have Sean and John here on the call. So what we'll do, I'm going to allow them to do a bit of an introduction of themselves and tell us a little bit about sort of their path to where they are today. So Sean, maybe if you want to start, and then we'll jump over to John to do his intro as well.
Okay. Nice. Thank you. Okay, nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Sean. I'm a process automation advisor for Tech, mainly based out of Sparwood office, actually, working on site. My main duty is basically deploy or provide support for any prediction models for plenty optimization. Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Awesome, Sean. Thanks for that. All right, John, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Stacey. So John Weezy, I'm the supervisor of the operational analytics team. So it's a team of software developers, but we run our applications as a bit of a product. So with that, we've got support staff, business analysts, product managers, as well as a Scrum Master that helps us kind of run our applications from an agile standpoint. So a bit about me, I've been with Tech now for 10 years. Actually, you might notice a bit of an accent. I moved to Canada to snowboard and moved to Fernie in British Columbia to snowboard instruct, and luckily got a job with Tech and met my partner and, purchased a house here. So that's 10 years now, kind of disappears pretty quickly.
Yeah, it is crazy, hey?
Yeah.
Awesome. And then, maybe I'll start with you, John. And I know some of this information, but I think it's really fun to share. You have a bit of an untraditional route to get to where you are today. And I think that's neat for people to hear, because sometimes it's not a linear path, let's just say, from point A to point B. So can you tell us a little bit about your background on how you happened upon getting into this role?
Yeah, for sure. So I studied a double degree in finance and maths computer science at the University of Adelaide in Australia, and then finished that, went into the workforce for a year in a sort of IT support role, and then obviously moved over here to snowboard instruct and got another job as an IT support staff for the mine. And knowing nothing about mining, I got to a ski town and just saw a posting and thought, oh, I'll just chuck my resume in, and luckily got a job, but thought it was underground, thought I'd be going, underground and supporting equipment there. But when you actually get to the valley, it's a very different kind of atmosphere there. So I did the sort of IT support role for a couple of years, and then actually moved into the finance department for our coal business unit. Worked there for a little bit of time, and then moved into this current team, which is really around sort of your data management or software solutions that manage data. And then sort of spent a couple of years there and took over the team when there was a vacancy. And that was about 5 years ago now.
Perfect. Well, that's great. Awesome. Okay. And then Sean, maybe I'll throw a question over to you. And again, I encourage anyone that has any burning questions to certainly let us know, but I can talk your ear off here today. So really either way. But Sean, maybe I'll throw it over to you. I guess, and I sort of highlighted this before we jumped on the call today, that I think sometimes from people coming from a technology background, whether it's computer engineering, computer science, maybe when they join that program, they're like, I'm going to work for a mining company, but I haven't heard that anecdote a lot. So I guess I'm kind of curious, Sean, if you could give us a little insight into how you ended up at Tech. What was it that drew you into the mining field, and how'd you get here, I guess?
I think Jonathan will be able to answer more properly on this question, but for me, personal experience, my background is oil and gas. I did my internship. I started my career at oil and gas companies, and then I heard about this company called Tech doing a lot of cool stuff in digital transformation or developing digital products to apply to real life examples and stuff like that. So here I am. I joined tech, and it's been a year and a half for me, and I've been enjoying a lot. Yeah.
That's awesome. No, it's true. You're kind of unique, I guess, in a way. Like, people look at different places they could work. And I know that mining now and oil and gas is starting to get a bit of a name for itself in terms of the kind of impact that you can make as a technology student here, or as a full-time employee. But certainly I know a lot of people haven't thought about that route. And maybe John, maybe you can answer this too. What sort of drew you into the tech world? Like, I know you were looking for lifestyle and you found it here, which I know we talk about quite a bit. Is there anything else that sort of get you sort of attracted to tech?
Yeah. I suppose with probably the change that I've seen over the last 5 years. So I worked on site quite a bit as a IT support person, and saw a lot of interesting things when it came to people doing reports by hand, scanning them, emailing them off, printing them off to sign them, stuff like that. Just really simple automation kind of tasks. And now, 5 years into the future, where we're seeing a lot more of that being automated. So you can sign something quickly, or you don't even need to sign something. That's just removed that step from everybody. So seeing the transformation just in 5 years has been really interesting. And also the kind of the approach the department has to allow people to try something and fail. I think in the past that's been, oh, that costs way too much money, we can't do that. But now it's really seen as, okay, try something, fail, and we move in a different direction, which is a lot more akin to a software company rather than a mining company that's trying to get stuff out of the ground. So that's been really interesting over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Okay. Neat. No, that's great. And you highlighted a little bit that your team sort of works with an agile process by the sounds of it.
Yep.
Is that the same for all the teams? And maybe Sean, you can comment on this as well. Is that fairly similar across tech, or are there a couple different ways that we sort of work through this sort of transformation side of things?
It really depends on the department and business unit, obviously.
Yep.
But I think agile is only applicable to race specifically, I believe. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding.
Okay.
But we do stuff like we do traditional approaches like waterfalls or anything like that as well too.
Okay.
Whatever that's beneficial to the product or the business, that's what we do.
Okay. Awesome. All right. And then, you talked a little bit about like 5 years ago, you're seeing this transformation that we've gone through the last 5 years, which has been huge. What gets you guys excited about the next few years, the next 5 years? Like what kind of things are you seeing coming down the line where you're like, oh, this is exciting. This is going to really make a big impact to the business. Is there anything in particular for both of you guys, if you could both comment on this, that kind of gets you excited, or it's going to make a big change? And maybe John, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think some of the sort of hardware automation that's coming down the line is really exciting. Currently, we run our fleets of trucks as automated trucks, but the kind of outlook looks to be more of our heavy equipment being automated, and also more of the processing plant being kind of automated, which probably Sean can talk to a bit more. But there's talk of, automated drills and dozers and shovels. So that's really exciting to see a lot more of that automation come through from the mining side, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And Sean, how about for you then?
For processing side, I'm excited to see there's a lot coming from data scientists to help us to optimize the processing plant, for example. And that's a really big, and because I used to think that, well, reinforced learning, data science, it's far away from like today. And also given the mining is very old fashioned and traditional industry, I never thought of that, doing technological stuff at mining and mining company. But yeah, it's really exciting I'm very excited and thrilled to see what we're going to be able to achieve next 5 years or so.
Yeah, for sure. And then, and I know there's a question there, so I'll get to it too, but I guess I'm kind of curious and maybe we'll get your opinion on that. Like, I know lots of students ask me about machine learning. Like, can I get some experience with machine learning? And I know in some areas, I think we're closer to it than others. I guess, how could you guys comment? Like, are people getting experience in the machine learning side, or are we there yet? Are we? I know there's a lot of data to manage, so and making sure it's accurate. But maybe John, can I ask you that question first?
Yeah, there is quite a bit. And more, I think a lot of the past couple of years has been, like you said, cleaning and organizing our data better. Because
Yeah.
before you can run any of these advanced analytics kind of projects, you really need the data in a state to be able to run them. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of concentration has been on that for the last couple of years, but now more and more of these optimization kind of projects, products are coming online to apply some of that advanced analytics on the cleansed data.
Awesome. Oh, that's exciting for sure to see the next stage. Sean, did you want to comment on that, or is that kind of
No,
what
just
you were
chime in a
thinking?
little bit. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Jonathan said, like we invested heavily past few years to build our infrastructure, like the data pipelines and everything like that. And now we're actually developing a product now, and that's very exciting.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to get the real value out of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's been used in areas that we maybe hadn't thought of. And it's starting to bleed into other departments and areas where we're like, oh, it's worked here. Like, how about we try this here? And so being able to see success in a couple departments, now we're able to sort of carbon copy that sort of process in other areas. And you're seeing that the benefits across lots of different areas of the business, which is neat to see. Perfect. I want to make sure I go through the question here. So someone's asked, they have an education background in forestry from Kenya and studied general arts and sciences diploma in Lethbridge. They would like to know how to get into tech as of interest company for me. So I guess it depends. I mean, it's hard to go really specific into your situation, Jackson, but we definitely hire. Sometimes forestry people go into our environmental group, depending like if you're into like if digital transformation and that side of things is really interesting for you, we have like a GIS department that we work with there, and they do a lot of analytics and different mapping and different things in there. So if you have exposure to that, certainly that would be beneficial. And then sciences, yeah, I mean, environmental group, I think would be a huge one. You could sort of meld those two worlds for sure. Just off the top of my head, but yeah, there's lots of, I would suggest, Jackson, if you want to keep an eye on the website and look at, and that's for anybody too, keep an eye on the website. Right now, we're currently recruiting for full-time positions, like a lot of them, and you'll see quite a variety. And then we're also recruiting for co-ops for the upcoming January term currently as well. So, so yeah, you'll see lots of different postings up there. So you can set yourself up for job alerts when you start to recognize some of the postings, start to see what they're looking for in terms of requirements, and then make sure that it's ones that you qualify for. So there's lots of, there's lots of opportunities out there. But yeah, the environmental group has been hiring a ton, and that'll be sort of like more technology based, or certainly like hands-on doing sampling, that sort of thing. So depending where your interests are, those could qualify for, I guess, where your interests are. But yeah, I guess speaking of co-op students, maybe we'll talk a little bit about the co-op program. So obviously that's my bread and butter. So I coordinate the campus recruitment for the Cole Business Unit of Tech, but then we also support the various business units across Tech. So our trail operations, our Highland Valley Copper operations, in addition to our Vancouver and Calgary offices. But yeah, I wanted to actually talk a little bit about what co-ops are doing at the business, because I think sometimes people say, oh, that's a full-time kind of role, but our co-ops are very given a lot of responsibility, are very involved in some of these new projects we have happening. So maybe, John, I know I've hired lots of co-ops with you, so we'll start with you. Can you talk to us a little bit about the kind of work a co-op is getting to do in your department?
Yeah, for sure. And it really is part of the full-time team. Co-ops, obviously, there is an onboarding kind of spin-up period there, but they do get involved in our product or projects pretty quickly. So speaking about some of the technology we use kind of cloud computing for a lot of our compute in Azure public cloud, and that's running a lot of different technologies from like your serverless patterns that just run code on a trigger, or just a stateful container that kind of takes that data and does applies our algorithms. And really, it's a fit for purpose from a technology standpoint. If we think we want to use Python and a Databricks instance, or we want to use .NET for another use case, we really look at the pros and cons of each approach and then go through that. And that really is what the co-op would be involved in. Maybe doing a quick spike to investigate some good options for us, and then we go and sort of implement it with a full-time member or with just the co-op. That's their project. So that's kind of what a co-op does on my team.
Awesome. Thanks, John. And then how about over to you, Sean? What have your co-ops been working on, your team?
Before we get into that, I'd like to point out that tech is very lean company. So it's all about the self-initiative, and like you basically define your own work and your own boundary of what you're going to do for the next 8 or 12 months here. So for example, of my co-op here, he basically supports pretty much all the initiatives that I'm responsible for. That being said, like he could be doing like sampling, like manual sampling, or he could be doing some analytic stuff, or he could be doing some automating the manual process as well. So it's hard to define that, well, this person will be doing the like item A, B, C, but it's all about the self defining pretty much.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point you bring up there too, that they're working on, like you both have mentioned it, and that's something that I talk about a lot too, is that co-ops are working on real projects, making real impact. It's not like we're just giving you make work projects. Like we rely heavily on our students to really push some of these initiatives forward, and it's I think the most common feedback I've seen on a lot of our evaluations is, I can't believe how much responsibility I was given as a co-op with tech, and that seems to be across the board. But then the other side of that, they can't believe how much they've learned in such a short period of time, because they literally are thrown into it, obviously with the support of their supervisors, and you guys both can speak to that, and really then we're pulling that experience out of them and allowing them to build and grow with the team, which I as a co-op student is invaluable experience to have. All right, we've got a question. Is it Zayed? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, that's correct. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Stacy and John and Sean, for sharing your experience with tech. I just had a question because I'm in the co-op program at York. We're in Ontario. Eventually, I want to move to BC. So hopefully, like John was saying, we'll get to ski there. But for winter internships, usually are they a 12-month or 8-month, or is it you get to pick? Because when I was on my co-op portal, I wasn't able to find tech, but when you guys sent the link, I was able to open and kind of look at the positions you had. Then hopefully I'll apply to some after this
Good.
info session.
Yeah, we have a bit of a variety. So we can do 8 months, we could do 12 months, we could do up to 16 months, truthfully. We don't have as many 4 months. So if anyone was wondering on the call about 4-month opportunities, we can do them on rare occasions, but unfortunately, because it's such a big process, we do put so much responsibility on our students. It's a huge learning curve. So we really lean heavily to those longer terms, but there's certainly flexibility after that 8 months. So 8, 12, 16. We're happy to have someone come and join the team for as long as they need or want to, and that really allows you to really see some projects from start to finish, which I think is where the big learnings come from.
Yeah, because usually after like 3 months, you're done the onboarding, and then that's when you actually start applying, and you're saying bye to the team after the 4th one. So it's usually not very, very helpful. And just one more small question for the return offers. Usually, you folks have any like a program like that where you finish a certain co-op semester and then you get a return offer, or what's that one?
Yeah. So certainly the priority for our co-op and part of the, gauging my success in the program in terms of who we're hiring as our team, a big part of that is building a talent pool for future opportunities. So we want these co-ops to roll into full-time roles and fill those new graduate positions that we have. So we don't have a super structured program where it's like, we recruit like 2 times a year or something like that. Our graduate programs are sort of ongoing as needed, but we've seen a ton of success, in particular on the digital on the technology side, where we've seen a lot of our students roll into. Sometimes they'll go back to school and work part-time just to keep their finger on the pulse while they're back in school, or alternatively, you go back, you focus on your studies, you get that done, and then we'll aim to bring you back once you graduate. So we see that a lot, and it's like, I sort of joke, it's like the try before you buy situation for co-op for us. It's like, okay, you get to try it out to see if it's a good fit for you. We also get to try you out. We do evaluations at the end of your term, and then we obviously highlight those top performers and make sure we keep them close at hand and try to get them back for a role that's suited for them. So yeah, huge part of this program is real. I'd love to say it was selfless and we're just here to offer students experience, but part of it is for sure to fill our full-time positions. So thanks for that question. That's really great. We'll keep an eye out for your resume, all right? Awesome. All right, I've got a couple more questions in the chat. Deval's asked about the summer intern, so applications for summer. We'll be posting, we usually post 4 months in advance for every co-op term. So we do hire every 4 months. So we're looking at January, you'll see our postings for the summer internships. So those will be coming up, early January. Hopefully we'll have some out in December, but for sure by the start of January, you'll see lots of postings come up for the summer applications, summer term. And then someone else has asked, what are the goals that the company is focused on currently? How does your team work in order to reach these goals? So maybe I know that's going to be different for both of you. So Sean, do you want to start and talk a little bit about some of the team goals that you guys have that you're working towards currently?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you guys. I haven't been involved with the strategy or kind of roadmap kind of side heavily past years, but then I know that based on the company target, for example, I know we're focusing on the ESG scores and stuff like that. So based on that, we build our 5-year roadmap, and based on that, we make our plan for each initiative to achieve those targets. And also we do track our performance and our progress with a lot of various metrics and KPIs, and that's what we try to thrive for. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and Sean, to offer some context to that, like we have several goals as a company, as you can imagine. Obviously, there's a focus on environmental sustainability, which is what Sean was talking about, and as well as obviously productivity. There's so many areas that we're really focused on. You can see the core values of tech in terms of checking out the website, but yeah, so a lot of these technologies are really helping us work towards these core values that tech has in place. And so improving our environmental performance, improving our safety, improving our reliability and efficiencies within our operations. So there's lots of, I guess, goals that we're working on, and a lot of these different technologies are working to one or two of these overall core values of the company. Yeah, so sorry, John, I don't want to steal your thunder there. If you want to talk a little bit about your team's goals.
So, and I suppose as a technology and innovation team, really our goals are to be more and more integrated with sites. It's obviously transformation is hard, especially in a mining company. And getting onboarded with direct people on site more and more, so they start thinking about technology first rather than just get the job done first is a really big goal of our whole department. And also, I think enabling people a bit more on that front as we have a new wave of younger employees come on with ideas at site. So it's a lot less of I will just get it done and put our heads down. It doesn't matter how much labor we use. There's a lot more of a step back and think about how we could use technology to enhance our performance. And that's really coming from a new wave of people, mining engineers, mechanical engineers, all that kind of stuff coming through tech from the actual sites side. So I think integrating with them and taking some of those opportunities and applying technology to it is really where our goals kind of set.
That's awesome. No, that's great. Thanks. Yeah, and I think that's really important to highlight, just having that strong connection with the operations. That's something that to be successful with a digital transformation, that has become some of our key goals, to make sure that we're offering value to the operations and it is working for them. So there's lots of collaboration with those different technical teams at the site, like John said, and that's really helpful. But it also really, I think too, as a computer engineer, computer scientist working on a product that you're offering, you get to see the value that it's offering the sites, and I think that part is really neat, to have that feedback loop and understand, like, wow, I've really made an impact here. And I think that, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we all want out of a job, really, is just to feel that we've made an impact and made a difference. And so that you get to see that full loop, which I think is really neat, and offer suggestions, that sort of thing, and feel a part of the team. Okay, I know I'm mindful of time. I just want to make sure, I'm going to throw it out there. If anyone else has any questions, make sure you get them in. We're going to start trivia here in a couple minutes. So I've got a couple more questions up my sleeve, but if anybody else has any burning questions, please feel free to to jump in. Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Misaki, for mentioning that. We are going to be at York next week. So, so I was like, yeah, we'll hopefully see your face there too. We're hitting Ontario, Quebec.
I'll definitely swing by next week. I had a question. You guys were talking about like transformation and stuff like that for next couple of years, and you guys are obviously mining copper and all these minerals for electric cars and batteries and stuff like that. Is that going to be like one of the main focuses, since everything is going to be more renewable, more storage? When you guys are going to focus on like energy storage more, is that? And if you can elaborate more about it, I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, sure. No, it's certainly the future. Maybe John, if you want to talk about it, but we've got lots of the minerals that we're mining are really a part of this this new economy that we're seeing, like this transition as the world is making. And so, the coal that we mine is still making coal, so it's used for infrastructure. Copper is used in many different facets, but you think about like electric vehicles, some of the components for that. Same with zinc as well. So we're positioned really well, I guess, right now as a mining company for this future, which makes us have that sense of security, I guess, that we're going to be around for a while. I don't know, John, do you want to highlight any more about that?
Yeah, probably really just quickly, I think we might start the trivia soon. But one of the big focuses is copper. We've actually opened a new mine in South America that looks to increase our copper production drastically. And it was also a sort of new build that had technology in mind from the start. So instead of running a lot of the dispatch and on-site personnel, they actually run a lot of the operation from Santiago, the major city, which is about 1,000 kilometers away from the actual mine site. So there's a lot of technology that needs to go into running a remote site like that with as many people as possible. So it's kind of exciting to be involved in those kind of projects as well, from the ground up, rather than coming into these older operations.
Yeah, no, and I think it's neat to see this transition that the company's made. I've been here for a few years now, and I've seen some changes over the years, and it's really neat with this expansion that's happened in Chile. We're seeing a lot more people, especially on the technology front, like, hey, if someone knows Spanish, that's super useful, because we're seeing a lot more collaboration with our South American operations and our Canadian operations, and really looking at what's worked there, what could work here in a similar fashion, and vice versa. So we're seeing a lot of more exposure, I guess, to different technologies, and making sure we as a company are are consistent in our approach to technology and our rollout of technology. And so we're learning from each other all the time and working together. And I think that, that makes us that much stronger, that we're able to see it sort of rolled out in different venues, like John talked about, that having that sort of like the brain of the mine, if you will, that far away, it's allowed for some new possibilities that maybe had not been considered in the past, right? So
just as we'll definitely have more time for a couple of questions closer to the end here, but just for those who are not aware, Teck, we are going to be coming to your campuses. So on October 18th, we will be at the University of Toronto at the Galbraith Building at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. On October 19th, we will be at York University at the BRG 125 and the Eatery starting at 4 p.m. We will also be at the Queen's Career Fair on October 19th as well, which for those who are going to that career fair, I'm sure you know it starts at 10:30 Eastern Time. And we will also be joining Queen's Mining Pathways Conference, and that is going to be in the evening starting at 5 o'clock Eastern Time as well. And then lastly, next week, we will also be at McGill University, and we're going to be at the Trotier building starting at 6 p.m. For any of the events that's an information session for us, we will have food and drinks available for you. So please do join us. We would love to meet you all there. We'd love to see you there as well. And so what you'll also see from myself is in the chat there. If you don't already see it, I will be posting my LinkedIn profile. So you'll see some of the posts I'll be making on as to when we'll be on campus as well. And of course, we will be visiting other campuses later this fall, as well as in the new year as well. So if you didn't hear your university, it doesn't mean we're not going to be there. We just have those planned for next week as it is coming up. So definitely more to come, and you'll maybe you'll see your campus on our list as well.
Awesome.
So
Thanks,
before we also end the session, as I have you all here, please do provide us feedback in terms of our campus coffee webinars. We really want to make sure that we're holding these webinars for you, and then and of course that you find them of value as well. So we would love to hear new ideas coming from you as well as to what you want to listen to during these webinars.
Great. Thanks. And I'll put one more recruitment plug in here while we're waiting if there's any other questions. But yeah, so I mentioned earlier, we do recruit every 4 months. We have a very sizable co-op program here at Tech. So just to give you an idea, in this year alone, we hired over 300 students across the business. So a ton of co-ops, and that's over those 3 terms. For the upcoming term coming up here now in January, we're actively recruiting. We still have some positions posted like we highlighted in the chat earlier. So I encourage you, if you are interested in January, please apply. If not, like you said, for May, you'll see the postings up in January. So every 4 months, you'll see a new batch of positions come up. Yeah, out of those positions, like for the ones that we hired for this past year, somewhere between 25 to 30% of our co-op roles. So out of those, like, over 300, those were all in the technology space. So it's a huge component. So we've really seen a huge shift where before, when people think about mining, you're like, yeah, we're hiring mining engineers, mechanical engineers. Now you're seeing this huge shift towards people who work in the technology space. So computer engineers, computer scientists, data scientists. There's a real big shift, and even the roles that we hire for mining engineers, mechanical, all those traditional engineering roles, if you will, they're asking for people more because we're rolling out so many technology, they're asking for people with a bit more knowledge within that technology space. So if you're not someone who has that particular background of computer engineering, computer science, certainly getting a few of those courses under your belt is going to be hugely beneficial for the future of tech. Because we're definitely seeing that we're working with those technical teams so closely, and if they have some insight and understanding of what technology can do for their department, boy, you see that synergy just so much better in terms of being able to work with the technology teams and understanding what they can offer, what solutions are out there, and really being able to be much more successful in that rollout. So lots of really fun stuff happening. This co-op program continues to be huge. In addition to that, like I mentioned earlier too, lots of full-time roles. So if you're someone who's nearing graduation, if you're looking at maybe either December, I would say start applying now for some roles because it takes a little bit of time to work ourselves through the process. If you're looking for a May graduation, I would say within the new year, probably by February, March, start really looking at some roles that might be relevant to what you're looking to pursue. And we'll be starting those process. It takes give or take about a month to work ourselves through the process. By the time you apply, we provide a short list, and then work through the candidates, talk to them, have a bit of a understanding of their technical abilities. For some of those full-time roles, we certainly be doing a bit of an assessment as well on your technical abilities, and then working through that interview process. So that's sort of that process, and certainly keep an eye on those roles. Again, they might be called something different than what you would expect. It's not going to be just computer engineer. We like a lot of companies, and mining's no different. In fact, they're probably a little bit even more so, is that we have some unique titles for some of these roles. So you might need to do a little bit of homework on the website to look in the roles and be like, what is this, position? Let's, the systems engineering, whatever we're calling it. Look in there, see what the requirements are, and then you can start pinpointing some of the areas that you might want to target for your full-time opportunities. Any last thoughts, Jonathan or Sean, in terms of mentioning about those opportunities within your teams? Like, do you guys have some opportunities coming up here in the next little while?
I think the co-op role in our team is about a month in, so probably not for a little while. But just to mention our kind of conversion from co-op to full-time, I've got 4 full-time employees and 2 of them are ex-co-ops. I know another team that works in our organization is all ex-co-ops. I think there's 3 or 4 full-times there. So it really is a good way to get involved in kind of tech, doing a co-op here. So yeah, I would strongly recommend anybody who's interested to get on board. So
Awesome. Thanks for that, John. That makes me very proud too. Awesome. No, it's a great way to get your foot in the door and understand some of the technologies, and then you're a shoe in for full-time roles down the road. So, oh, that's great. All right. Any parting comments, Sean? I know that John just mentioned a little bit about that. I guess in your team, how's it looking for full-time roles or co-op positions in your role?
Obviously they're related to each other pretty much. I know one of the co-op in my team, he did his full-time co-op and now he's a part-time. So definitely will get a good chance to return as a full-time later on. And also I'd like to mention that students in my team, some of them are chemical engineers and some of them are like computer science, or some of them are software engineer. So if you see a posting that has a cool description and you want to know more about it, please apply and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we like you say, if that's the area of interest for you and you had the background that could be suitable, and there's a couple different areas we could look within, yeah, there's some really cool opportunities for sure. Yeah, thanks, Sean. That's a great point. Perfect. All right. And I was going to ask one last question. I know we have 2 minutes, so maybe I'll throw it out there real quick. I know that, John, when you mentioned your role, you highlighted a bunch of different technologies that people could have exposure to. I guess, are there any deal breakers for people coming on board with your team? And then I'll ask the same of you, Sean, in terms of like technologies that they should know, softwares they should know, or is it something that can be trainable if they have one or the other kind of thing? Maybe John, I'll start.
Yeah, it's not from a technology standpoint. I think it's really the attitude coming into a co-op. I want to learn while I'm here, not be sort of here, go do this and do your own thing and sit in the corner. It's really the attitude of I want to pick up and work alongside the full-time team and learn a lot while I'm doing it. That's more what I look for when we're looking for new co-ops.
Awesome. Thanks, John. How about you, Sean?
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't necessarily care about the technical skills, to be honest, from the students, but I'll be looking for more onto soft skills like self-learnings and taking initiatives on your own, and like things like asking questions. And that's the quality that I look for. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that really sets people up for success with a co-op here. We can provide that. We've got technical experts in every area. So really there's people to pull from and really get information. It's just coming in with that right attitude and ability to not be afraid to ask the questions and not be afraid to reach out and get that knowledge and you have that motivation to do it. Boy, you're going to do well as a co-op here. Awesome. Well, I think that we're at time. Sean and John, thanks so much for taking the time today. It's been really great to hear a little bit about your roles and a little bit about what how you fit into the big puzzle of tech. And so I do appreciate you letting me grill you a little bit today. All right, cool. Well, with that, we'll wrap it up. Thanks everyone for joining the call today.